Members here today are Larry Fisher, Tony Robertson, Dennis Caldwell, Mead Meyer, and Frank, who's disappeared on me. And I also want to thank Dave Murray, Sheila McFarland, and Gita Bodner, who in addition to Larry and myself, served on the planning committee for this meeting. And another, just to emphasize, the CWP is a partnership where you don't really exist without a wide number of other organizations, groups, and individuals who work with it. And that's our purpose is to sort of link it and bring those groups together and help them collaborate, which is a good segue to my introduction for the moderator for this Pima County session, Karen Sims, who's worked in this region in Las Ciénegas and for almost 30 years, right? Yeah. Worked for BLM for years, was the director, manager for Las Ciénegas, and just in the last 2 years has moved over to Pima County. You'll learn more about that role as we go forward. So, Karen Sims. And just a note to speakers, we're going to try to have you put the mic on the table. We'll see how that works. I think I've built enough for now.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to attempt to do some introductions on my phone, which should be really fascinating, especially because I lost my usual glasses, but we'll see how this goes. Just a couple of comments. So in my role with the Bureau of Land Management, I was tasked in 1995 with starting the planning process for the Las Ciénegas National Conservation Area, which was designated about 5 years after we started. And we started our very first efforts on that plan in this building, so it's kind of neat to be back here again and see how much growth has happened in terms of the engagement and how it's sustained through all the years since 1995. And so we had a community potluck that was held here and then a community workshop. And I know that there's some people in the room that were also at that event with me. It's really good to see everybody. So I wanted to start out, as Tom mentioned, I worked for the BLM for many years and then moved over to Pima County just not quite 2 years ago. And wanted to give you kind of a really quick overview because I was really confused when I moved to the county. Like, how do all of these pieces of the county fit together, and what does each of the three main departments that I'm going to talk about do? So this is going to be my 60-second, hopefully, Pima County 101 for folks, with a little insider information, I think, too. So the department that I work for, Natural Resources, Parks, and Recreation, is sometimes called NRPR. So I was asked by folks giving presentations if I could just let people know the acronyms, they wouldn't have to keep explaining them for each of their talks. So if you hear NRPR or Parks, that is our division, Natural Resources, Parks, and Recreation. And our department manages both the urban parks, urban Pima County parks, the Loop. Many of you have probably been on the Loop and enjoyed that. And also our Natural Resources Division, which manages all of the approximately 200,000 acres of Pima County fee and grazing leases. And we have Environmental Education Department. We manage all the Pima County community centers and facilities, the pools, the shooting range, all the recreation programs. And we also have the Pima County Native Plant Nursery, the Canoa Ranch Project, and we have our own GIS department in Natural Resources, Parks, and Recreation. So the second major, whoops, battery. That's weird, timed out, okay, or I pushed it. All right, second major department, Regional Flood Control District. We call them flood, they like to call themselves the district. So, all right, we'll see if this keeps going. So the Regional Flood Control District is funded by a special secondary property tax. They were established in 1978. Director is Suzanne Shields, and their main focus, which I think many of us know, is floodplain management, water resources, watershed and basin studies, infrastructure management, and engineering. And their focus is really to minimize flood and erosion damages for all county residents, property, and infrastructure. They're involved in a variety of flood monitoring, flood control, and natural resource management activities. And I did want to mention their alert system because especially in more rural areas, it's really good to know about this. But on the website, you can access and learn about that system, but it basically provides instantaneous information to the National Weather Service and others about flood conditions in washes and drainages. And obviously it's not all of them, but it's a really important system that helps the Weather Service put out some of those alerts we get on our phone. All right. And they manage approximately 20,000 acres of land in the county. And last but not least is our Office of Sustainability and Conservation. And this is headed by Linda Mayrow, who's the director. And essentially, OSC was probably the hardest department for me to figure out at the beginning. But they're relatively new. They were put in place about 2011 as part of the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan. And so Parks and Flood are the main land managers for Pima County, and OSC, as we call them, they do the policy setting and oversight, and they run the ecological monitoring program that's compliance for our Section 10 permit. They also house the Cultural Resources Division that does cultural resource compliance and management for the whole county. And their main program areas are the Conservation Science Division, the Cultural Resources and Historic Preservation Division, and the Sustainability Programs Division, and the Water Resources. So there's my Pima County 101. And with that, I'm going to switch over and introduce our first speaker.